Welcome to Soveryn Podcast, the voice of independent Luxembourg.
So we're here with Soveryn Podcast with my good friend Trev. And these two ladies, would you introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name's Melissa Noble. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Carla. My name's Melissa Noble.
And my name is Carla Nato.
Very good. Welcome. So we are in Venissimo, who have given us this beautiful space to be here for the weekend. We're doing some work with my client Maserati, and it was a chance to have a relaunch of the podcast that I've been doing with Trev about sort of following the fitness journey. And Trev had an idea that we sort of jump in and discuss a theme about restart. Trev, maybe you want to jump in and give us a note on that.
Yeah, that's right. It's the end of the summer and there was a considerable drop in how many people were attending over the summer, and now everybody's starting to come back. The reason I asked us three to get together is because you three are all very similar.
Okay.
You've all been at it for a considerable amount of time. You've all trained very hard, then you've dropped off, then you've come back, and now you're back again. And what I want to do is kind of get the message across, or you tell your story of what it's like dropping off and coming back. However you consider, what's your opinion? And I'd like to leave the floor open to you three.
Okay, cool. How should we do this? Who wants to start? Does somebody want to start in particular? You want to go first? We go like this?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay, cool.
First, I'll say I've been working with Trevor. We're probably coming up on, if you can believe it, Trevor, 2.5, 3 years. It's been
Nice.
a long time. So I would say there's been a lot of up and down for me in those 3 years, probably like everybody.
Yeah.
When I first started training with Trev, I definitely weighed less, and I worked on general fitness goals, and we had a really small group, and we really went for it all the time.
Yeah.
And then my first setback, like probably a lot of people, was COVID. And I remembered I did not want to come back after COVID. I really felt like weak for sure, especially with my breathing. But Trev was a great encourager and said, please come back and just try, give it a go. And I remember being completely demoralized, and I could barely do 2 push-ups. And I think before then I was doing at least 30 in a row. It was very upsetting and it was depressing, but I think once you have a great group that you're training with and you have someone who is encouraging like Trevor, you get back into your routine and it really helps you get over whatever setbacks you've had. And I think that's been a theme the past 3 years. There's a lot of up and down in everybody's life. I'm a big throw everything away and then come back to it, so I need a lot of support to do that. So Trevor's been great with that, and so has everyone that we've been training has been really encouraging. It's a wonderful group, and every time you come back you sort of remind yourself like, oh yeah, this is why I was doing this for so long, this feels good. But it's sort of like, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, and eventually you'll get there, but you really need to keep at it, and that's the message that I would give.
Nice.
Maybe Carla.
Maybe Carla, do you want to jump in and tell us your story? Or how do you want me to jump in? But I think it's kind of nice if it follows in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I the problem with me is that I used to be an athlete like Melissa, I think like you as well.
Yeah,
and
in my
so
youth, yeah.
I always felt like if I'm not working out like I did when I was 18, 19, 20, I wasn't really working out. So
Right.
my workouts were just kind of petering off, and I thought I knew how to work out. I mean, I used to. And so working with Trevor made it completely different, And so what I would do is I would go to the track on my own. Then I ended up working with Trevor, and the difference is night and day. Absolutely night and day. And I'm American, so I go home to the States for the holidays. And for me, it's a very frightening time because there's so much food there.
Yeah.
It is everywhere. It's in all the gas stations. It's in every single store. And for me, it's that junk food that gets to you. And so I went back for 3 weeks, and I came back. And I went one time with Trevor, went back, and I couldn't believe how much I had slipped. And I was just, like you said, Melissa, devastated, absolutely devastated. But I can say from that feeling, within 2 weeks, I bounced right back, I think. I mean, you may disagree. Yeah. And so for me, that bouncing back, even though the first time was just horrible, the fact that within 2 weeks I was almost like back where I was, and now within the last 2 weeks I've been able to move even further. So it's just been encouraging at this point.
Very nice. Maybe, unless Trevor, you want to jump in and talk about these two ladies, or should I jump in my
No,
experience?
you go, Paul.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you both, I've stopped and started. I haven't known Trev as long. I've known Trev, I think, since April. Yeah. And when I met Trev in April, it was the lowest point I've been in my life in terms of weight and in terms of work stress, and feeling like I was completely out of touch with my body. And there was a term that I had heard, not a term, an expression, some really fancy New Yorker journalist had said that he felt that a lot of intellectuals or people who work at offices act as if their body is just a mechanism to get their head to a meeting. You know? And there's no other caring for the body. And what really inspired me with Trev was just this whole thing of outdoor and active, to get connected to the earth, get back out. And Trev is an inspiration because he's so damn fit.
You know? That is absolutely brilliant, Paul, because this is exactly what happens to me over and over again. Nearly every time somebody comes to my training, it's focus on everything but the fitness. And it's crazy. Everybody's willing to spend 4 hours in a bar.
Right.
Are they willing to spend €500 on going out socialising? Ask them to commit 1 hour to training or €100 to the fitness, and it's like it's off the spectrum.
Yeah.
And it just amazes me, I know we're all different, that people can't invest a little bit more in the fitness. And this is exactly where we started, Paul.
Yeah.
You was investing like nothing in your fitness and everything in your business.
Yeah.
And hopefully we are addressing that balance. We've talked about steps.
Yeah.
You're walking for at least 2 hours a day now.
Yeah, 100%.
That's 2 hours more than what you was in April.
Yeah, 100%. And Trev, our first, we met because of the podcast. Friend Igor, who I think was also one of your trainees.
Yeah, one of the gang. Yeah.
And he said something to me at our first podcast, which was, it's so simple, but it's like one of those simple things that's devastating, which is that everyone invests in their work, but they don't invest in themselves. Mm-hmm. And I just realized that I was like downing coffees, jacking myself up on sugar or carbs when I needed to keep going. And I knew that there was a problem. The problem was I was overweight and it was getting worse, and blood sugar was filled with cortisol and stress hormones. But I was just like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to pretend it's not there, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. I want to just relate to that as well. I think you get, I don't know what it is about getting in with your work. You're really passionate about your work, but you really forget about yourself. And I think like you, I sort of exist, even now it's a struggle, existing on coffee all day, not eating all day, then getting home, eating, and then crashing. And then, it's sort of the next day, repeat. It's like, oh, I think I used to do it a little here, a little there, and then it becomes a regular routine that you don't even see as a problem until you talk to someone who is actually fit. And I think when you used to be an athlete, you used to be fit, you delude yourself a little bit, like it's going to be easy to get back to that point. And all I need to do is work out like I used to do. And then when you try, then that's very demoralizing. And it can take up a lot of mental space that you don't really act on. And then you're like, oh, I'm spending a lot of time thinking about how unhealthy I am and how it like hurts to get up sometimes and like drag myself in. But then taking the action for some reason doesn't happen until you meet someone who's inspiring and someone who's supportive, who isn't going to make you feel self-conscious that you've let things go for quite a while.
That's a great comment. I'll just jump in really quick, which is this thing of used to be an athlete. I still face that every morning now that I'm walking, and I'm walking hard, and I think, but you're a bit of a wimp, like you used to run. Mm-hmm. And I think, well, I'm a bit heavy still for my knees, so I'm not jogging, I'm walking. Yeah. But
yes. So, well, I don't want to hold it for too long because I want to go on to Carla, because like Carla said before, she was she's in and out, and it is this. I keep saying to everybody, just come. And like Carla said, after a couple of weeks, you start to rise the level. And I can see it, maybe I want to talk about it a bit more. When people come to training, I watch everybody and I can see it. And Carla, I've watched this over the last 3 weeks, and I say it again and again and again. The hardest bit is to get there. Like, I can see Carla now. When she's arriving, she's hungry to be there. So she's like, she's not looking at the kettlebell thinking, oh, it's a kettlebell. She's like, she's not looking at the slam ball and like, I don't want to slam. She's ripping everything apart. You know, so if you're like that change in mentality, and with Carla, it's been like back in 2 or 3 weeks. You know.
Well, I'm glad you noticed. but I will say that I feel it. But then part of it is psychological too, where he's just like, if you're holding out the 5 kg thing out like this and your arms are shaking, and he's like, oh, you're strong, you know, it's great. And I realized, like you said, and again, the whole athlete thing, I'm sitting there with kids. I'm sitting there with people who never were athletes. I'm there with people who've gained 50 kilos. I'm old people, young people, men, women, whatever. And there's no shame. There's no mirrors. There's no competing. There's in the way that Trevor does it is that he's not in front of you like a class where he's demonstrating stuff and you just follow along for 30 minutes, which is always such a drag, I think. And so for me, it's like, okay, and the fact that it's mixed up, there's things that I'm better at that I'm not, and to work at that. But one thing I wanted to bring up is I think how it's changed me a bit is I told Trevor I had friends in town from when I was in college, and we went everywhere, Amsterdam, Paris, I mean, everywhere. It was a blast. And I was like, you know, Trevor, I'm scared. You know, Paris, boy, am I going to eat, you know, Oktoberfest, boy, am I going to eat. And he was giving me tips, and I knew it, and I followed some of them. But more than anything, I self-regulated. Was I perfect? No. Was I better than where I would have been a year ago? Because usually, again, like I go home, I don't know about you guys, I go home or I go to Paris and it's like, I'm never going to get a croissant like this again. I got to eat it now. Then I'm there and I'm like, that's okay. You know, the omelet's pretty good. You know, and I know that sounds simple, but it was little stuff like that. And I wasn't having those big breakfasts every morning. I wasn't having bread and baguette every morning, but I still had a good time. And before, I felt like I owed it to myself to just go, you know, 100 miles an hour into wherever I'm at. And now it's like, I can go 50 miles an hour wherever I'm at, and I can still enjoy it.
So that's a great point. Again, everybody's bringing up the points. Is this, like, people want to come, and all three of you are the same. And I'm like, do not give 100 at the beginning. Just get yourself going. And just take your time, get back into it, and move slowly. And the other one is the eating. You know, we all talk about the eating. It's nothing radical. 5% reduction changes your life. You know, you know, Paul and I started on this, and it was like a 5% more steps, 5% less eating. Yeah. And that, honestly, consistency. If you eat 5% less every day, and you walk or you up your activity 5% every day, that's going to be enough. If you do this binge training or binge eating, it's never going to work. And this is like where we're right now as we sit here. We're going into September. And this is what the three of us are going to agree at the end of the podcast. You don't know it yet, but we're all going to agree. We're going to re-meet up in December. And you're all going to have made some really good gains because it's on film now. And I want this to be a shining example. And we're a great team to do it.
Very good, Trev. Do you want to jump in?
I was just going to say, I think we can all relate to what Carla was saying, and I think maybe some of our personalities are similar in this way. You know, sometimes, I don't know what it is, it's like, I want today to be the best day ever. So what does that mean? Champagne, drinks, another round. We don't need to go to bed. You know, just sort of this life of the party attitude, and sometimes you need a slight readjustment of like, do I need to be doing this as much as I've been doing it? Is it really benefiting me? Yes,
or can I still have fun and not be doing it at that level?
Exactly. And I think getting over that hurdle, and what you were saying as well, like when we first started training, I thought I have to be top of this group. And if I don't, then I go away and I don't feel good about myself. And now I just go and I just try my best. And it's such a joy to do that, as opposed to this, I'm going to do what I used to do when I was 20, you know, that type of mentality. Anyway, just wanted to connect on that.
Yeah, no, that's all incredibly. What I like about all the comments so far is that I find them relatable and simple, and that is what sort of hits it to me because, and it's one of the first things I noticed about working with you, Trev, is that even though you're so much more fit than I am, and you have maintained your fitness for a long time, it was relatable. It wasn't like someone was talking down to me, you know. Yeah. It was just, you know, try to
That's great. The reason why it's relatable, and this is again why we started the podcast, there are so many people who are just at the door of the training. I've got a group now, I mean, as they're going to listen to this, I'm going to remind them that there are, I would say, 10 people who are the same as you. Who've come, they've started, and they're fighting. They're all where you are. There's at least 10 of them. You'll meet them. And I want them to listen to this and say, yeah, I was there, but if I keep going, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Just come, give it a go, and be consistent.
That's great. Is there anything else in particular you wanted to hit on tonight, Trev?
No, I just want you all to commit that we're going to meet again.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And one of my things is, I'm not interested in the weight, I'm interested in the fitness. But what I want us to do, this week, we're going to set some goals and we're going to reach them by Christmas.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, with that, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks a lot. It's been really lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like
it.
this
Thank you
stuff.
to Venissimo for giving us this beautiful space. And thank you, Trev, for all you've done for us.
Pleasure.
And hopefully we'll see you all back here in December. Everyone's going to be fitter.
Oh, 100%.